The cold night in Prague wrapped the city in a cloak of shadow and rain, the streets slick and gleaming with the city's neon reflections. Inside her modest apartment, Elena Novak sat hunched over a cluttered desk strewn with faded manuscripts and cryptic notes. The dim light flickered overhead, casting restless shadows across her weary face. Every muscle in her body was taut with exhaustion, yet her sharp eyes scanned the fragmented cipher with relentless determination. She had always known the path she had chosen was fraught with danger, but the creeping silence around her was unsettling. Allies she once relied upon had grown distant or disappeared altogether, their absence like a hollow echo in the labyrinth of her investigation. Paranoia gnawed at her mind. The silence felt like the breath of invisible enemies lurking just out of sight. Her thoughts shattered as a soft knock echoed through the hallway. Elena froze, heart pounding, then cautiously moved to the door. It was Jakub Marek, his rugged frame silhouetted against the faint streetlight. His face was grim, eyes scanning the empty corridor behind him. He stepped inside and shut the door quietly, his voice low and tense. "Elena," Jakub began, "we can't ignore it anymore. Someone close is feeding information to Viktor Kral's network. Your every move is being watched." His words hung heavy in the room, thick with unspoken fears. Elena's breath caught. Suspicion had already seeded itself deep within her heart, but hearing it from Jakub made it all the more real. The two sat at the table, the weight of unspoken accusations pressing between them. Jakub recounted strange disappearances, whispered warnings intercepted by his contacts, and subtle betrayals that had chipped away at their progress. Elena's mind raced. Was it Sophia? Or perhaps even Jakub himself? Trust, once so vital, had become a fragile currency. Days later, the unsettling truth struck harder. Elena's phone buzzed abruptly with a message from Sophia Lang. The text was brief, cryptic. "They know. Be careful. I can't stay. Forgive me." Before Elena could reply, Sophia vanished without a trace. The pale cryptographer's disappearance sent a shockwave through Elena's already fraying nerves. Doubt and fear clawed at her. Had Sophia been compromised, or had she fled to protect them both? Determined to find answers alone, Elena ventured deeper into the secret archives beneath Prague. The labyrinthine corridors, cold and oppressive, seemed to close in around her. Every step echoed ominously, the faint drip of water and distant scurrying of rats punctuating the silence. Suddenly, a subtle shift in the shadows caught her eye. A barely perceptible trap set for an unwary intruder. Her pulse quickened as she narrowly avoided it, adrenaline surging through her veins. The labyrinth was no longer just a repository of secrets. It had become a deadly maze where unseen enemies hunted her. In the solitude of the archives, Elena grappled with the cruel reality of her situation. Isolation gnawed at her, but so did the burning need to uncover the truth. She knew that the conspiracy's roots ran deeper than she had imagined. Every betrayal was a thread in a tangled web, and she was the lone spider trying to unravel it. As she sat beneath the flickering lights of the underground vault, Elena's thoughts coalesced into a fierce resolve. She would expose the silent enemies around her, no matter the cost. But the question lingered, heavy and cold. Who could she trust when the shadows themselves seemed to whisper her name? The night outside deepened, and with it, the storm within Elena's heart. The dim glow of the laptop screen was the only light in the cavernous room beneath Prague's ancient streets. Elena Novak sat hunched over a tattered manuscript, worn edges curling like the secrets it contained. Her fingers, stained with ink and trembling with anticipation, traced the intricate symbols that sprawled across the brittle pages. Every line, every curve, seemed to hum with hidden meaning. Hours had passed unnoticed, the air thick with the scent of dust and old parchment. Sophia Lang leaned closer, her pale face illuminated by the cold light, eyes sharp and searching. "Look here," she whispered, tapping a sequence of symbols Elena had overlooked. "There's a pattern within the pattern, a code inside the code." Elena's breath caught. A metacode. Exactly, someone layered it deliberately, hiding a master key beneath the surface. The revelation electrified the room. Yet even as they pieced together the encrypted puzzle, the weight of their discovery pressed heavily upon them. The conspiracy was no longer merely a shadowy rumor. It was encoded in the very fabric of this manuscript. Jakub Marek, stationed by the heavy iron door, cast a wary glance down the dim corridor. His rugged features tightened with tension as distant footsteps echoed faintly. "We don't have much time," he muttered, voice low but urgent. Elena nodded, forcing herself to focus despite the adrenaline surging through her veins. "We need to decode this fully. It's the master key. It could expose everything." Working quickly, Elena and Sophia cross-referenced the metacode against previous fragments, their minds racing to unravel the intricate cipher. The room seemed to pulse with the rhythm of their synchronized efforts, the scratch of pen on paper, the soft click of keys, whispered speculations. Minutes stretched like hours, until finally the last piece clicked into place. The screen flashed, illuminating a chilling message, a revelation linking centuries-old cult secrets with present-day power structures. The truth was laid bare, more devastating and far-reaching than either had imagined. But the sound of hurried footsteps grew louder, scraping against stone floors, closing in. Jakub's voice was sharp. "We have to move now." Elena grabbed the laptop, the manuscript, and a flash drive containing their partial translations. The trio fled through narrow passageways, the cold breath of Prague's underworld chasing them relentlessly. Each step carried the weight of discovery, the promise of exposing a conspiracy that had woven itself through history, and the peril that came with such forbidden knowledge. As they emerged into the dank night air, Elena's mind raced. The metacode was not just a key. It was a beacon, a call to arms. But with enemies closing in, the danger was far from over. The labyrinth beneath the city had revealed its deepest secret, and Elena knew the fight for truth was only beginning. She glanced at Sophia, whose eyes reflected equal parts fear and determination, then to Jakub, ever the vigilant protector. Together, they stepped into the shadows of Prague's streets, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The code within the code had been cracked. Now, the real battle was about to begin. The cold stone walls of the secret chamber beneath Prague seemed to close in around Elena Novak as she traced her fingers over the brittle pages of the ancient codex. The flickering lanterns cast dancing shadows on the manuscript's faded ink, revealing cryptic symbols and carefully scribed passages that whispered secrets long buried by time. Sophia Lang leaned in close, her intense eyes scanning the text with a scholar's precision, while Martin Dvorak stood quietly nearby, his face a mask of cautious anticipation. "Look at this," Elena murmured, pointing to an intricate diagram entwined with Latin annotations. "These rituals, they're not mere superstition. They're a blueprint for political control, woven into the very fabric of governance." Sophia nodded slowly, her voice barely above a whisper. "The cult's methods have evolved but never disappeared. They infiltrated royal courts, influenced treaties, and even shaped revolutions. This codex is a testament to their enduring legacy." The room felt charged with the weight of revelation. Elena's mind raced, as she pieced together the fragments of history that now took on a sinister new clarity. The line between myth and reality blurred, revealing a shadow empire that had thrived on secrecy and manipulation. Martin carefully extracted a bundle of aged letters from a concealed compartment, their edges worn but the ink still legible. These correspondences confirm the cult's strategy of embedding agents within key political positions, he explained. They played a long game, ensuring their influence spanned generations. Elena's breath caught as she read a passage describing ceremonies that intertwined symbolic rites with calculated political moves, a chilling fusion of faith and power. "It's more than history," she said, her voice tight with disbelief. "It's an ongoing conspiracy." Sophia's gaze met hers, sharing the unspoken weight of this truth. "We're standing at the crossroads of past and present, Elena. Our next steps could change everything." Suddenly, the distant echo of footsteps shattered the fragile silence, reverberating through the labyrinth's twisting corridors. The reminder was clear: their discoveries had not gone unnoticed. Danger was closing in, relentless and unseen. Elena's heart pounded as she closed the codex, her resolve hardening. The cult's legacy was no mere relic. It was a living, breathing force that threatened to consume her world. But surrender was not an option. With Sophia and Martin beside her, she vowed to unravel the web of deceit and expose the darkness lurking beneath Prague's surface, no matter the cost. The shadows deepened, and with them, the stakes of the game Elena had been thrust into. Every secret uncovered brought her closer to the truth, but also closer to the edge of peril. The labyrinth awaited, its silent corridors promising both answers and danger in equal measure. And as Elena stepped forward, the question lingered: how far was she willing to go to break the cult's unyielding grip on history and power? The legacy of the cult was no longer hidden in the past. It was a present threat, a puzzle of codes and conspiracies that demanded to be solved. Elena's journey had only just crossed its most daunting threshold. The damp stone walls of the labyrinth seemed to close in tighter around Elena Novak as the weight of betrayal settled heavily on her chest. Alone in a narrow chamber, illuminated only by the faint, flickering light of a single lantern, she spread out the intercepted communications before her. The coded messages, painstakingly decrypted over endless nights, revealed a truth that stabbed through the fragile web of trust she had built. Jakub Marek, her closest ally, had been feeding information to Viktor Kral's operatives. Her fingers trembled as she traced the lines of text, each character a dagger twisting deeper into her resolve. Jakub's duplicity was not just a minor slip. It was a calculated betrayal that had endangered their entire investigation. The knowledge that someone she had relied upon was the very conduit for her enemies left her reeling. The stale air in the chamber hung thick, punctuated only by the soft drip of water echoing like a relentless metronome counting down to an inevitable confrontation. Memories of shared moments, Jakub's protective stances, his pragmatic advice, the flickers of camaraderie clashed violently with the stark reality before her. How had she missed the signs? Was she too trusting, too desperate for an ally in this shadowy labyrinth beneath Prague? Determined to confront the truth head-on, Elena rose, her mind racing through every interaction, every guarded glance Jakub had given her. She moved swiftly through the twisting corridors, her footsteps muffled against the cold stone floor. The labyrinth was no stranger to secrets, but this was a betrayal that cut deeper than any hidden passage. She found Jakub waiting in a dimly lit corridor, the flickering lantern casting long, distorted shadows. His rugged features were set in a grim mask, the usual alertness in his eyes now clouded with regret. Elena's voice was low but unwavering as she spoke. "Why, Jacob? After everything, why betray me?" Jacob's jaw tightened. "You don't understand what's at stake, Elena. Sometimes sacrifices have to be made for the greater good. I did what I thought was necessary to protect you and the mission." But Elena's heart hardened. "By feeding our enemies, by putting us all at risk. That's not protection. That's treason." The tension between them was palpable, the air thick with unspoken accusations and fractured loyalties. From a shadowed alcove, Sophia Lang watched silently, her intense eyes reflecting the flickering light and the turmoil unfolding before her. The betrayal deepened the already fragile trust among them, casting a pall over their alliance. Jacob's conflicted expression betrayed his internal struggle. But before Elena could demand answers, he turned abruptly and disappeared into the labyrinth's winding passages. The echo of his retreating footsteps left Elena standing alone, the sting of isolation cutting sharper than the cold stone beneath her feet. She made her way to a narrow opening overlooking the vast underground archives. The cavernous space stretched out beneath her, rows upon rows of ancient manuscripts and modern intelligence files bathed in ghostly shadows. Her breath formed small clouds in the chilly air as she contemplated the precarious path ahead. Jacob's betrayal was a devastating blow, but Elena's resolve hardened. The conspiracy was deeper and more dangerous than ever, and if she was to expose the truth, she would have to rely on her own wits and courage. The labyrinth was unforgiving, but so was she. As distant murmurs reverberated through the tunnels, Elena's sharp eyes caught the faint glimmer of a hidden passage she hadn't noticed before. A new lead, a new hope. With a steadying breath, she stepped forward into the unknown, ready to face whatever darkness awaited. The game of shadows had changed, and Elena Novak was determined to be the last light standing. The betrayal had shattered the fragile trust that had kept Elena grounded amid the labyrinth's twisting corridors and cryptic secrets. Yet, in that very fracture, she found a new source of strength. Alone but undeterred, she began piecing together the next stage of her perilous journey. The echo of footsteps and whispered threats, a constant reminder that in the shadows of Prague, no secret stayed buried forever. The cold air seeped through the cracks of the narrow corridor beneath Prague, chilling Elena Novak's skin despite the adrenaline surging through her veins. She moved cautiously, every footstep measured, her sharp eyes scanning the dimly lit stone walls of the labyrinth. The faint echo of dripping water and the distant hum of the city above were the only sounds in this underground maze. She clutched the encrypted manuscript tighter, its fragile pages the key to unraveling the conspiracy that had haunted her since her first discovery. But shadows moved faster than she anticipated. Without warning, a pair of strong hands gripped her arms from behind, muffling her startled gasp. She struggled fiercely, but the cold steel of handcuffs snapped around her wrists, biting into her skin. Panic surged, but she forced herself to remain calm. She had faced codes that seemed impenetrable. Now, her survival depended on decoding the dangers that surrounded her. Dragged swiftly through the twisting corridors, Elena's heart pounded in sync with the hurried footsteps of her captors. Her mind raced, calculating possible escape routes, memorizing every turn, every symbol etched faintly into the stone walls. They stopped before a heavy iron door, its surface pitted with rust but embossed with strange, ancient glyphs she recognized from her recent studies. The door groaned open, revealing a small chamber lined with damp stone. The faint scent of mold and earth filled the air. Her captors shoved her inside, then locked the door with a definitive clang that echoed like a death knell. Left alone, Elena slid down to the floor, breath visible in the frigid air, mind already working through the constraints of her new prison. Minutes stretched into hours as she sat in the oppressive silence, broken only by the occasional drip of water from the ceiling and the distant rumble of footsteps fading away. She ran her fingers over the cold walls, tracing the symbols she had seen before, ancient signs that whispered secrets of the cult she sought to expose. Her heart ached with the weight of isolation, but beneath that ache was a flicker of determination ignited by the very challenge she faced. Suddenly, the heavy door creaked and opened, revealing Victor Krail. His imposing presence filled the chamber. The cold grey of his eyes seemed to pierce her very soul. He stepped inside, impeccably dressed despite the grim surroundings, a faint, almost mocking smile playing on his lips. "Elena Novak," he said smoothly, his voice low and controlled. "I admire your tenacity. Few have come this far. But you must understand the truth you chase threatens the delicate balance my organization protects." Elena met his gaze, refusing to show the tremor his presence elicited. "You don't own history, Victor. The world deserves to know what lies beneath the surface." His smile faded, replaced by an icy hardness. "And yet, knowledge can be a weapon that destroys more than it builds. You'll learn that soon enough." With that, he turned and left, the door locking behind him with a finality that swallowed the light. Left alone once more, Elena's mind raced. She examined every inch of her cell, the irregularities in the lock, the faint draft hinting at hidden passages, the worn symbols that might be more than mere decoration. Her captors had underestimated her resolve. The labyrinth was her domain, and even here, beneath the weight of captivity, she found fragments of hope. Her thoughts flickered to Jacob Marek, loyal, pragmatic, and resourceful. Could he be planning her rescue, or had the labyrinth already swallowed him too? She pushed the doubt aside, focusing instead on the cipher embedded in her surroundings. The walls whispered secrets only she could unravel. Time blurred as she worked silently, deciphering the patterns and planning her escape. Every moment was a battle between despair and determination, a test of her mental fortitude. Outside, the labyrinth waited, a maze of shadows and danger. But Elena Novak was no ordinary prisoner. She was a cryptographer, a seeker of truth, and she would not surrender. The chamber's silence was broken by a faint scraping sound, the first sign of movement in what felt like an eternity. Elena's heart quickened. Was this a chance or a trap? Her journey was far from over. The labyrinth had more secrets yet to reveal, and so did she. As the door began to creak open once more, Elena straightened, steeling herself for whatever awaited beyond. The cold seeped through the thick stone walls of the chamber, a damp chill that clung to Elena Novak's skin like an unwelcome shroud. Her eyes, sharp and alert despite exhaustion, scanned the ancient inscriptions etched into the heavy iron lock that barred her freedom. Each symbol was a fragment of a cipher she had studied for months, the same cryptic language that had first drawn her into this labyrinthine nightmare beneath Prague. Now, that knowledge was her only key to escape. The muffled sounds of footsteps echoed faintly through the corridors beyond her cell. The guards were vigilant, but not infallible. Elena had learned their patterns, their shifts, and the subtle changes in their patrols. Time was a luxury she scarcely possessed, yet she worked with painstaking precision, her fingers tracing the worn symbols, aligning them with the cipher keys she memorized. A soft drip of water from the ancient pipes punctuated the silence, rhythmic and steady, a metronome counting down her chances. Her breathing was shallow but controlled, every inhale filled with the scent of damp stone and stale air. She felt the weight of the moment pressing down on her, a suffocating tension balanced precariously between hope and despair. Suddenly, A faint click resonated through the chamber. Elena's heart leaped. The lock had responded to her decoding, the ancient mechanism yielding to her understanding of the cipher embedded within. With cautious determination, she shifted the heavy door. It groaned on rusted hinges, revealing a narrow passageway shrouded in shadow. Stepping into the corridor, Elena's senses heightened. The labyrinth was a maze of twisting tunnels, each curve and crevice a potential trap. She moved silently, the soft scrape of her boots muffled against the cold stone floor. The air was thick with the scent of mold and earth, punctuated by the distant echoes of footsteps, a relentless reminder that time was running out. Her mind raced, recalling the maps she had memorized and the clues hidden in the manuscripts. The labyrinth was both guardian and prison, a living entity that fed on secrets and darkness. Every turn brought new dangers, but also new opportunities. Elena pressed on, driven by a fierce resolve that burned brighter than fear. As she rounded a corner, a sudden shadow darted ahead. Elena froze, heart pounding in her chest. The figures she had feared were closing in, operatives loyal to Victor Krail. Their presence a sinister echo of the conspiracy she sought to unravel. Yet, just as despair threatened to consume her, a familiar voice whispered from the darkness, "Elena, this way, quickly." Jakub Marek emerged from the shadows, his rugged features tense but resolute. Without hesitation, he grasped her arm, pulling her deeper into the labyrinth's hidden recesses. The scent of damp earth mingled with the faint metallic tang of danger as they moved swiftly, voices barely above whispers. "They're closing in faster than we thought," Jakub murmured, eyes scanning the passage ahead. "We don't have much time." Elena nodded, the weight of the moment settling heavily upon her. Her escape was only the beginning. The conspiracy's reach was vast, its shadows long. But now, armed with her knowledge and Jakub's support, she was ready to fight back. Together, they vanished into the darkness, the labyrinth swallowing their footsteps as the city above slept, unaware of the deadly game unfolding beneath its streets. The path ahead was perilous, but Elena's will was unbreakable. The truth was within reach, and she would risk everything to bring it to light. Yet, as the shadows deepened and the walls seemed to close in, a haunting question lingered in her mind. How many more secrets would be buried in darkness before the dawn could break? The labyrinth had tried to claim her, but Elena Novak was not yet defeated. Her escape was a spark, a beacon of defiance against the suffocating conspiracy that sought to silence her forever.